Live chat. All right, we're live.
What is going on?
Nobody's paying attention.
Oh. Boom.
You are one watcher.
You know it.
Someone else is there too. All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks.
What a nice guy that Mike Somich is.
Only one person. Never mind.
Just me.
Whew. Fuck it. You want to just get into it?
Yeah. People
right.
open.
People will show up eventually. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
This is the Magic Mike Show, taking over the Racing Dudes YouTube live, recording the podcast. This is number 50. Monumental podcast for us, Mike. You excited?
I can't wait to get all the flowers and the candies. And we're halfway to syndication now.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So yeah, I'm excited about number 50. It's crazy to think that I didn't know you a year ago. We had never done a podcast before July.
It was I think it was the Ohio Derby. It was our first one.
Pretty crazy when you go back and think about it. I haven't gone back and listened to how shitty the audio was in a while. Maybe we'll have to you should do a best of. Since you're Mr. Editor Champion, we should do a little best of Magic Mike and go the clips from 50 different shows.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that would be really painful.
I thought about doing that for 100. 50, oof, that's going to be tough as well. But hey, we are here to do the Stronach Pick 5. We haven't done this in a long time. It's this Saturday, which is the 22nd.
Yes, it is.
The reason, Mike, that you wanted to do this, especially $169,000 carryover for this one. That is huge for this.
It's pretty crazy. And the dollar denomination is a huge factor. When you have a dollar denomination and only 12% takeout, it makes a big difference. I mean, the 12% takeout alone means if there's not $1.3 million, you're playing for free.
Right.
Bet into it. So, you rarely get a shot at a $1.5 million pool with zero takeout. And that's what we have a chance at on Friday. So that makes it really valuable. And the second part is that dollar denomination. If we get one horse home that's 15-1, you're knocking out 70-80% of the tickets. It's almost impossible to go all in any of these legs.
Right.
The smallest leg is 10 horses. There's 207,360 possible combinations. So if you want to do the all ticket, you're going broke. So you could get a huge payout on this thing. I wouldn't be shocked if it pays over between 10 and 15 if you have 3 of the 5 favorites lose.
Wow.
I really think this one could pay out a lot because it is deep fields, big fields, and they're not easy races.
Oh, yeah, this is crazy. We were looking at it earlier, and you're right. Field of 10 is the smallest. I mean, you've got 2 different fields where they're overdrawn by 4. And you're trying to get in
3 turf races with 12 horses each.
Yep.
I mean, that just alone screams price. So
yeah. So for everybody who's watching us on YouTube Live, thank you for joining us. If you're catching this on the podcast later, I'm sorry you missed a hell of a show. I'm just going to call it right now. We're having a good one. Mike and I are sitting here drinking some nice imported Moscato from Italy. I'm wearing my new Lucky shirt, which says I'd rather be betting on horse races. If you're watching on YouTube, oh wait, it is the right one. Our screen is flipped from what is actually being broadcast, so that's good.
But would you really rather be betting on horses right now or doing this podcast?
Well, this is a podcast about betting horses.
That's true.
It's like if we had a third computer, I'm sure we'd have the low sal feed going over here, or harness racing from Northlands or something going. So
we could pull Meadowlands up, play the late pick 4. We got time still.
Well, I know we just saw each other 2 days ago on Monday. We're recording this on Wednesday. Is there anything that's been newsworthy for you to even talk about it?
I can't the Blues won 11 in a row, which is now a franchise record. But I'm not gonna talk about the Blues every podcast because that would get a little redundant. I don't know who would possibly do that.
Talk about their damn sports team from Missouri.
Every single one, But that's a new franchise record, so that's pretty cool. I am actually a little bummed we're recording this during Duke, North Carolina. Zion Williamson got hurt in the first half.
He's out.
He literally broke his shoe trying to jump because he was That's how he got hurt. He broke his shoe jumping, which is mind-blowing.
How do you even do that?
You jump really high. And literally, he blew out the bottom of the shoe. It's crazy.
Ooh,
so he hurt his knee when he did it. So they're down. I think Duke's down 5 right now. But tickets for that, we're going for as much as a ticket to the Super Bowl this year.
Somebody on Twitter said something. Eddie Cofina said something to us about that, and I didn't really pick up what he was talking about because I was busy working. But yeah, it was crazy. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And this is if this was the ACC championship,
even then, it's a college basketball. They play 3 times a year, or at least twice normally.
Right.
Sometimes 3. They play. Really? I get it. Zion Williamson, really cool. Like you have the number 1 and 2 picks in the draft, most likely. Really cool. I got to go to a Duke game, so trust me, this year was awesome to go and see it. But man, it's a lot of money. I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars to sit in that stadium, and it's yeah. Now you miss Zion too. I feel bad for.
Oh yeah. Duke's losing by a considerable amount, at least for college basketball, and now no Zion. So if you're a Duke fan, just get the hell out of there. Were they at Duke?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't at least have to worry about getting trashed on the way back, like someone, people literally throwing trash at you. So
North Carolina's pretty nice too.
Yeah.
What about you? What's the best thing you've seen since the last 2 days?
Yeah, the last 2 days. So actually today I was talking with Aaron Halderman.
Yeah, know the guy. Heard of him.
So he comes out every year to Santa Ynez at least once a year. And Breeders' Cup is going to be here, so of course he's coming for that. But he was still planning on coming out. And, I didn't know if Jared was going to come because, Jared just had his second baby. Jared's wife had the second baby. Jared literally just watched it happen. And so I was asking him, I said, are you going to be able to make it out? Because we saw the field for the San Felipe. I always have to be careful about that. You've got Instagram, game winner, crazy. Improbable, all aiming for that. Like we joked about that. That's happening. Like that. I mean, wow, that's going to be crazy. So I got excited because they came out for the San Felipe last year. And I was like, hey, you guys, are you coming back out at all or anything? They're not coming for that. They're coming for Santa Anita Derby. So not only that, but I asked Aaron, are you riding solo? And he said, no, Jared got permission.
Oh,
Jared got permission to leave. That might be the last time he ever gets permission, because if Kelsey has to deal with 2 little boys by herself for an entire weekend, that's like the last time Jared ever gets to do that. So we'll make sure Jared has a great time.
I hope we find out what he gave up on the podcast next time.
Ooh.
There was clearly a deal struck here.
Oh, yeah.
So I would love to know what the deal was.
Maybe that was the deal. This is your one time. Yeah. Never again until they're both in college. But so, yeah, that's exciting. I know that you get to come out here, everyone so often for work, case in point. But, hopefully if you're able to swing it for the Santa Anita Derby or something like that, it'd be really great. I was thinking about these the other day. I'm still the only person. Oh, wait, no, you've met Aaron. Yeah. Aaron and I are the only ones on Team Racing Dudes who have met everybody on the team.
Well, so I have a cousin who's getting married the weekend after the Jim Dandy.
Okay.
So I'm going for the Jim Dandy to Saratoga.
Okay.
Aaron's going for the Jim Dandy to Saratoga.
Okay.
He and his wife chose it. Slim's going to be there.
Of course.
Be on vacation because he was talking about being on vacation.
Oh, okay.
So we got 3 of the 5.
All right.
Jim Dandy at Saratoga. We've got a house there. You can stay in the house. You and Mrs. Magic. You have a bunch of kids running around. Get you guys prepped, getting ready for all that.
No. I'm good. I'm good on that. I don't even know what to do with kids still. So
you just hang out with them, play with them.
Ew. They have germs.
They do have germs. You get sick a lot more with kids. Let me tell you. Anyway, no one cares about
that. Starting to turn into an abstinence case for abstinence podcast. So we're gonna talk about the Stronach 5. One thing I love too, Mike, is that this is the first time since you and I have been doing podcasts about it that we're hitting all of the Stronach tracks that are running. So we've got Laurel, we've got Golden Gate, we've got Gulfstream, we've got Santa Anita. We even got the downhill course at Santa Anita, which is unique in and of itself. So this is gonna be really exciting. Let's just get going. Riders up. All right, everybody in the comments and watching, Austin, if you guys have questions, we'll do our best to take them as they come throughout, or if you want us, we'll shoot the shit later. So, but yeah, we're gonna get into this. 3, 2. All right, Mike. The first leg of the Stronach 5 for Friday, February 22nd. We're going to Laurel Park. It's race 9 on their card. You got a field of 10 fillies and mares 4 and up. They're going 6 furlongs in the dirt. This is a $5,000 claiming tag. This is a hell of a way to start things off, digging around in the muckety muck in Maryland.
I mean, it's pretty incredible that you could buy 2 of these horses if you hit the Stronach 5 on Friday. Like when you think about it that way, it's pretty nutty. And this is one of the toughest races, just because the consistency at this level is just it's never good. So you got to try and kind of dig through and figure out, okay, who's going to be good, who's not. The 6 furlong distance is interesting because you have horses coming out of 7 furlongs, 5.5 furlongs. So it's usually you have a lot of form of the 6 furlongs, and you just don't here. I found this was one of the more challenging races, and I didn't try and get too creative. I mean, I went, as my topic, I went to the 8 horse, Trufflesburg. I thought this horse just got claimed for 8,000, ran at 6 furlongs, consistently running well at 6 furlongs, was closing into it. The trainer's okay off the claim, 13%, but there's quite a bit of speed in here. And I have a feeling this race has a good chance at falling apart. So I wanted to find a closer as my top pick. I thought this was the best closer. It's in pretty good form right now. The buyer's fit. I think it's going to get a good trip because of all the speed in here. You're losing 5 pounds of the apprentice jockey, who's still pretty successful. So I think it all kind of lines up here for Trufflesburg. I think that's the most dangerous horse in this race. I think you really have to use this horse. I did use one other speed in the must uses, and I went to the 3-horse. She's a charm. The last race sucked. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
The horse
completely fell apart.
Yeah, the horse just quit. I mean, that's just the bottom line. But I'm going to give it an excuse here because if it runs back to any of the 3 prior to that, this is your winner. It will need to be on the lead, but it was on the lead for 5 furlongs. And so it should get the lead. It is going to have pace pressure. It's just a question of whether or not you get the horse showing up from last October and last September, or you get the horse showing up on January 6th. This horse is the class of the field. If this was a better level, this would be a kind of logical single. But because this horse really just gave it up, and some of its best races were 5 and 5.5, you got to be a little scared that with pace pressure, this horse is going to quit. So I'm going to go to the 3 and the 8 as the 2 must uses. The 8 would be my top pick. I think the race is going to set up really well for it.
No question about the 8. So she was claimed last time out. She lost going 6 furlongs here by a neck. It was in the slop. She was claimed for 8,000. They run her back for 5,000. Does that give you any concern that there is a slight drop in the tag? They're willing to risk losing money on her for this spot.
Anytime you're at this level, yeah, not really.
Peanuts.
Yeah, well, I mean, the purse will make up for it. So
okay,
if we look at what the purse is here,
we're going for 15,000.
So if you win, you're getting 60% of that.
Right
out of the gate, you're getting your 8,000 back. Right, 7,000. No. 8,000. Yeah, you get 8,000 back.
Okay.
And then if it gets claimed, you turn a $5,000 profit inside of a time, and you're putting it in a position where it really should run first or second. So even if the horse ends up running second, you're getting your money back. If the horse wins, you're making a quick profit, and there's not a ton of risk in it. And this horse you would expect is going to run well. I mean, it fits for the level. It's dropping in class. It's got a good setup. Like I like the spot of this. And the other thing is, like, you're never getting a superstar at this level.
True.
You're never going to have an $8,000 claim. You may. I mean, obviously, maybe not never, but it's very hard to find an $8,000 claimer that ends up being a stakes horse or even a $30,000 claimer. Because when they're at this level, they're usually have run a lot of times, which all of these horses have, and you know what they are.
Right.
So for me, I think it's a shrewd claim if you can get the horse to turn around and win, because then you're going to be profitable. And if it doesn't get claimed here, you run it back at 5, it's going to get claimed next time. So I think it makes sense. And I don't really worry about the drops. As long as they're still profitable, if the horse wins, then it's not a big deal to me.
Okay. How about the 4 real quick? I want to ask you about her polarization. This is a horse that at one point someone thought was worth $135,000 at auction. Clearly, she hasn't lived up to it. But is she going to? You told us your must uses. Is she going to make it on your ticket at any point?
She's not. The races that she has been competitive in, she ends up quitting, and she's not going to be able to get out 3-4 ahead, which is what she's done the last 2 times.
Right.
One of the scariest things for me is when you have horses that are ahead by 3 lengths at the top of the stretch that lose. And this horse has done it both of the last 2 times. So this horse is stopping at 6 furlongs. And the other thing that I think is interesting is you go back to what did they do with this horse? Well, they were running it at 5.5, 4.5, 5.5. They think this horse should be going shorter. They've tried a bunch of different things. This is not one that this horse will have to beat me, because even if it runs to its best buyer of 58, it's still 15 points lower than the 3 horse that we were talking about. And I would say that there's other speed in here that can run a better buyer right out of the gate as well. I mean, even if you look at like the 1 horse, it's run a 61 in that class. If you kind of scroll through here, you see a lot of horses that are going to be on or close to the lead. And this horse it quits without pressure. So with pressure, what's it going to be able to do? I mean, the 6 should be pressing too. Your 6 is coming out of a 4.5 furlong race at Charlestown, was running 5.5 at Laurel and making the lead. So there's just a lot of speed in this race. And that's why, they kind of gravitate toward the 8 in case it collapses. The other horse that I did end up using, and it's for the same reason, is the 7, Splendor Gallop, 12-1.
Okay.
This horse is coming off the claim for Mark Reed, who's 10% off the claim. But I like the fact that this horse is shortening back up. If you look at what it did to break its maiden to 25,000 back in April of 18, it sat behind the speed, closed in at 5.5 furlongs, and was able to win. It's been running at a mile. It's now cutting back to a sprinting distance. It should have something at the end. And like I said, if this race falls apart, I want horses that could surprise from off the pace. I thought the 3 was the best of the speed, so that's why I'm using it. But I think that the 7 and the 8 is most likely the best horse. But the 7 is one that could easily end up picking up the pieces. You got a decent trainer jockey combination. The horse is 3 for 12 at Laurel. There's enough here for me that at 12-1, I'm willing to take a chance. I didn't find a single anywhere in the sequence, so I need to make sure that I have some price horses in each race to try and see if I can blow this thing up.
Plus, with the 7, you're getting Weston Hamilton, who is your recent Eclipse Award winner for Apprentice Jockey. So Not a bad combination to go with there.
Not bad at all.
Let's move on to race 2. We're going to Gulfstream Park for the second leg. You've got a field of 12 plus 4 also eligibles entered, going a mile and 16th on the turf. Is an allowance optional claimer. You've got favoritism on the 5 at 7-2, which the fact that the favorite, and this is a Pletcher with Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. The fact that horse is 7-2 tells you just how wide open this race might be. Is the 5 your top choice, or who is your top choice? I should ask.
Well, this is interesting because the 5 is going from Brown to Pletcher, which you almost never see. And the 5 was doing well in the Brown barn. That's the other interesting part. So you got to think that Rapoli, I don't know if he owned this horse, so I shouldn't speak out of turn, but he may not have owned the horse when it was with Brown. But it's just very interesting that this horse is moving from that barn to the other barn. The horse was performing well. This is going to be the first start in its 5-year-old season. It's coming off a layoff. I actually do like this horse, so I end up making this horse my top pick. The races that it has come out of are very good. I mean, Slim Shady, Compass Zone are 2 very good horses up in the New York turf circuit. Those are the horses he was running against last time. And I find it very interesting that they gelded this horse. This is a Warfront horse who was 2 for 5 in his career, has never run, or I'm sorry, 2 for 6 in his career. It hasn't run under an 85 by the last 5 starts. It's a lightly raced horse. It's a 5-year-old. You could go out and try and win a couple low-level stakes races with this horse. It still has its conditions. There's a lot of different things you could do with this horse to make it a decent stallion prospect. So the fact that they gelded it is really intriguing to me, because I expected that means they think it's going to make a huge difference. Because you don't do that to this type of horse unless it's sterile or you think it can really run. So I'm really interested to see what this horse comes back as. We've been talking about Pletcher and his struggles, but his struggles have been with 3-year-olds, not with these type of horses. And so I'm not going to knock him here. He's good off the layoff. He's good out with first time as a trainer. And you get Irad Ortiz to stay aboard. He's the one who rode this horse the last 2 times. So all of those to me are positive signs. If this horse can take a step forward, I think this is probably your best horse in the field. So for me, the 5 is going to end up being the top pick. As a second choice, and the only other horse I put in the must uses, I'm actually going to go right to the outside to I'm the Captain Now. This is another one to me that's really interesting when you look at who it's been running against. We talked for a long time last year about the New York circuit and the turf circuit specifically that's been doing very, very well. Well, look at who this horse has faced. Hello, Don Julio last time. Red Knight, who's a very good horse. Bird's Eye View. I mean, Chiroz, Focus Group, Yoshida, Rocketry. This horse was a long-time maiden, but it was losing to very good horses. And I like the consistent improvement as well. It's not like this horse was regressing at any point. He was taking step forward after step forward, slowly getting better. The last race was in a 1.5-mile race on a soft turf. I'm willing to forgive that. We're coming back off a layoff, which is really my biggest concern. But this horse has run well twice off a layoff, and so I'm not going to knock it for that. You're going to get a price on this horse. It's 10-1 morning line. And, if this horse is able to run or to improve off what it's done, I mean, you have a 92 buyer there that's already a fit for the win. If it's able to improve here in its first start as a 5-year-old, this horse could really end up blowing up the total a little bit at 10-1 morning line. When
you can say that there's a fitness level too. I know it's been said he hasn't raced since October there, but I mean, he was racing much longer. So
yeah, the distance won't be a problem.
Distance is not going to be an issue for him. Real quick, I was looking up while you were talking. So the 5 Battle of Blenheim was purchased for $190,000 at auction not long after he did his last race there for Chad Brown. He was owned by the breeder, Joe Allen. So purchased him, went unraced, and then they gelded him back in October. So a lot of interesting things happening with that.
They gelded him pretty quickly, too.
Yeah.
And Rapoli, he doesn't usually buy just for stallions. So he's wanted to race this horse most likely. So I wonder how that's interesting.
They must be seeing a long-term, like he's got a very big 5-year-old season ahead of him is what they're hoping for.
You cut down his value when he made that move. So you got to think that is definitely something that they see upside with. I did use a third horse here. I ended up using the 8-horse Dr. Edgar. It's really not that creative. This horse was coming off a layoff. It was a close to, 6-5 favorite, facing a couple others in here. Stockton just kind of quit at a 1.16 miles. I'm willing to forgive that race. If you go back prior to that, this would be one of the better horses in the race. It had run literally, 16, 15 good races in a row before that. It's very lightly raced in 2018, so seeing it quit there isn't that big of a concern for me. And this horse is it's dangerous in a race where I think it's going to set up really well for this horse with its tactical speed. And we talked about how important that can be. This horse is going to sit a good trip. If it fires, it's really tough. It could be very dangerous. So I think you have to include Dr. Edgar as well. So those are the 3 I'm going to end up using here with the 5, 6, and the 8. Did you have any others in here that were interesting to you?
I don't, but someone who's commenting on YouTube right now, and I apologize, I'm having a hard time reading your name, but he brings up a great point. Let's take a look at the 12 here. Lunaire, 20-1. And if you look at his last 3 starts, they were all meant for the turf, all taken off. The first 2 were okay. The third one was pretty bad there.
Next one in.
Next
12th.
one in. All right. So where then why the question came up is a common phrase for you is betting horses getting back what they're best at.
Yeah.
His horse's best runs were on the turf, and they Albert Trani kept him in when it was taken off.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your deciding factor where you said I'm going to leave Lunaire off instead of putting him on?
Money. I couldn't fit a 4th horse in here. I mean, because I originally had 5 here, and I ended up going 5 deep in the next leg and 3 deep here. So if you want to kind of figure out how to adjust the ticket, I think you could. This is a good horse to include. It's a 20-to-1 morning line, and one of the things I like about this, and I've talked about this, where when they get scratched off, I like betting them back. This horse got scratched off 3 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They clearly want the turf for this horse. There's no doubt in their mind the turf is where they want this horse to be, and the fact that they keep throwing it back, to me says a lot. And if you go back to that 90 buyer before the back-to-back-to-back off the turf races, that was in its middle to late 4-year-old season. It could still improve into its 5-year-old season. The last race, you just completely throw out. I mean, it was a sloppy track. The 2 prior to were fast tracks, and it ran well. So the sloppy track is what caused the issue there.
Mm-hmm.
I think this horse fits at 20-to-1. I don't think it's that illogical. I do think it could get a tough trip from the outside. And I think the rail is going to be interesting here. If the rail is out at 112 feet, this will be a tough one for the 12 because he's going to have to cross over quickly. Yep. And closers fare worse the further the rail is out of Gulfstream. So it could be a tall task for Lunaire to be able to do it. But if the rail is in and, you have the money or you decide to go short on other legs, this is one I do think is worth putting in there.
So not a bad – so if someone who's listening did really like this horse and
I wouldn't talk you out this one.
Got it.
I see what other people see if you want to go here. I mean, it was only a length and a half behind Dr. Edgar at 1.16 at Saratoga. I mean, those are really good races. $87,000 winners were won at Saratoga. Right. I mean, that's a good class level. The only other horse in here I thought we should talk about is the 10, Medal of Honor, because Castellano left the 12 for the 10, which is a Chad Brown coming over from North America the first time. I didn't use this horse. I usually do use Chad Brown horses, but one of the things I don't like is when it's run this many races overseas before coming over. A lot of times you'll see a horse win once or twice and then come over. This horse ran 15 times overseas, only earning $51,000 in 2 wins. This is one that you got to prove it to me. I mean, Chad Brown Castellano could totally knock me out of this ticket, and if it does, so be it. But this is a horse where I feel like it's going to take too much money, and you got to prove it to me because this horse has had chances. And if you look at its maiden win, it's at a $14,000 7-furlong synthetic race.
Yeah.
I want to see more from a horse if I'm going to take 6-to-1, which would probably go off less than that, to be honest, because you've got a decent turf workout chain and it's Brown Castellano. So this one's one of those where if I end up 5 deep, I would have used this because I don't want to be knocked out by this unknown. But going 2 or 3 deep, I don't think this is a horse you use.
Well, and let's also look a bit more at this form. What's interesting, that it took him his 11th start to break his maiden, and he did 11 starts as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, this horse was run hard. I mean, and then he probably had some health issues because he only raced 4 times as a 3-year-old last year. So there is that angle. You're right, Chad Brown bringing horses over for the first time in an allowance race. This is usually when you just go, all right, this is where he likes to see, is this horse going to be my next big stakes horse? He does this with the fillies and mares all the time.
But usually they don't run this much overseas without form. Usually you see, like it makes sense. This one, I'm kind of like, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. So
yeah. No, that's I'm glad you brought that up because that's a good one too, that you think is likely going to take a lot of money, right? And so it's taking a stand here against that one. Hopefully it pays off. Let's move on to the third leg of the Stronach Pick 5. We're staying at Gulfstream Park, staying on the turf. We're going a mile. This is for maiden 3-year-olds in for a $20,000 tag. You got the favoritism on the 2, indisputably linked at 2-to-1. But this is, I don't know, 2-to-1 seems a little low. This field is, there's all sorts of things going on. Another overdrawn field of 12 plus 4 also eligibles. Where are you going?
Yeah, this feels a mess. Like it's a mess. I have 2 horses I went must uses. I ended up using 5 horses because I think you can go price hunting here. I did use the 2 because it's logical. I mean, if it's able to go back to its last mile effort at Gulfstream, it's probably your winner. It has some tactical speed, but it really doesn't like passing horses, which is usually a problem when you don't make the lead. So I'm interested to see what this horse ends up doing. I don't want this horse to be the reason I get knocked off the ticket. And that's really the reason I ended up 5 deep on here is because I ended up with like 3 horses. I'm like, well, I don't want to be KO'd because of this horse. So,
right.
But I don't see how you don't use the 2 in this spot if you're playing a ticket that is anywhere over $80, right? I think if you're playing a short ticket, I could see throwing him out and just hoping that it runs back to one of the last 2 races. But I like the fact that it was 5 furlongs scratched off the turf, that they still run it. It's a good prep race for this. You're getting second off a layoff. There's enough here that I think you really do have to end up using the horse.
Plus, sire, data link, second
data
sire
link.
of Warfront, so you got that going for you as well.
All that being said, the horse that I find most intriguing, I would put as my top pick, is the 8 horse Pesacani. We're going Pesacani. This horse ran the first time in a maiden special weight, $43,000. It's dropping down to a $20,000 maiden claimer. It was overmatched. It was 71 to 1 that day. It wasn't winning. It made no sense for that horse to be in that race, but it was by Kitten's Joy. It's a $40,000 purchase. It's dropping in class, and you're going to see an improvement off it. It's the second time out. You're going to see an improvement there. And its 22 buyer is not terrible compared to the rest of the field. It doesn't need to improve that much. And I guarantee you that horse was disinterested and wasn't trying late in that race. So you're getting enough second times that I think it could move forward. It's properly placed today, which I think is important. And there's not a lot in this race, and there's not many other droppers. And when you have a single dropper or 2 droppers, I like to try and focus on those as horses that I'm going to put on top. I'm not sure what the price is going to be on this horse either. I don't see this horse getting hammered at the window unless something's out on it, because there's really not much to go off of unless you're playing my angles, which is dropping second time out turf. I mean, that's really why you bet this horse. So those are the 2 I felt were the must uses in here. And like I said, I'm not super confident in those 2, and that's why this is the race I ended up going 5 deep, not the one prior.
Let's talk about the 11 there, Little Rough Justice. So this horse making his first official start on the turf. Last time tried to be, it was rained off. He had to run in the slop. What's intriguing to me is that his best race, at least from a stat line, was his debut, which is at Woodbine on the synthetic. Synthetic's a lot closer to turf than dirt is. So my theory here was he did a very small buyer improvement next out, going a mile on the dirt. Did you include this horse at all? Because I feel like the fact that he seemed to like the synthetic and would have projected well, improving second out on synthetic, could have helped him out there.
I was originally 3 deep, and this was the 4th or 5th horse. But this ended up making, the horse ended up making my ticket. It was later in the ticket, and this is the race I decided to spread a little bit more. Well, the other thing I liked about that is it showed speed on synthetic.
Yes.
And so 23 and 4 isn't lightning fast for 6 furlongs. It's actually pretty slow for 6 furlongs. But for a mile, you can be in the lead or close to the lead. So I feel like the 11 post won't be that dangerous there. I like the fact that they did scratch it up, try and get it on the turf, and then it got scratched off last race. And, if this horse takes a mild step forward, it's right there. And again, I don't think this horse is going to get bet. And so I think you're going to end up getting close to this 10 to 1 number. I actually could see it floating up to 15 to 1. And so that horse to me is a good one here that I think is interesting. And I'll take that horse over the 10 horse, who's a 6 to 1 morning line, but quit badly at a mile and barely was getting 5 furlongs. So that horse to me is going to get bet more, and I like significantly less. So that's why I did end up using the 11 as one of my horses to use. The 3rd horse that made the ticket was actually the 4 horse, Moe's Ride. It's a first-time starter by Sydney's Candy, which is a pretty good turf pedigree. I like the fact that some of the early workouts were on turf. George Weaver knows how to get them ready, 14% first out, and you get Jose Ortiz. And that's the other thing that I think is interesting is getting Ortiz here. This combination is actually 2 for 4 at Gulfstream Park. So that to me is the other part where I think it's really interesting. The fact that you're actually 2 for 4 on the percentages. So I think this horse is one of the ones you have to use. You're not getting 10 to 1 here. This horse could be your favorite. Could be your favorite going off, depending on if there's any word out on it. Because this horse fits really well for this level, and there's not a lot in this race.
Yeah, but I mean, that was the next horse I was going to ask you about. I'm glad you brought him up. That the Sydney's Candy angle being, and I've learned from some horses at Santa Anita, they've knocked me out because I didn't really consider it until it was too late. You mentioned you were going 5 deep on here. Who's the last one we haven't talked about?
Well, I talked about there's not being a ton of speed here.
Right.
Let's go all the way to the inside of Jet Rink. So this is the other one I think is interesting. Or by Malibu Moon, $40,000 purchase. First out on the dirt, pressures the pace. 23 first quarter, gets up about length of the lead at 46 first half. This horse is on the inside. If they send, this horse is your leader. If this horse takes a step forward off that 32 buyer, this fits. And you see some turf workouts so that you know that they actually thought about this and it's not just this random, hey, let's just try the turf. I just think the horse drew well. And that's where I think this horse fits. So I think this is another one where you could see this horse end up wiring the field, because the lower the level, especially with these maidens, the less they like to pass horses. And so I want the horse that's in the lead at the top of the turn. And if they send, this is your horse that will be in the lead at the top of the stretch.
Plus, you have to, in his first start, he got bumped out of this, he got hit, and then it says he came up empty. Well, young horses, especially if they don't have a whole lot of talent, they get bumped early. They don't know what's going on. I mean, it's his first start. He's still trying to figure out which way is the right way to run. So you've got to forgive him for that, right?
It probably also means he ran a 22 and change first quarter, because those first couple steps he was slower. So he's going to then rush up, use more horse, gets closer at the half point, and then fades. Like, I don't care about the fade. He could lose by 80 lengths after he started. I don't care about that, but I care about that he showed the tactical speed early that puts him in a position where he could take the lead and go wire to wire here.
It's too bad that we couldn't be living up to what the 10, his namesake, wine at the beach. A little too cold in Southern California for us to be drinking wine at the beach. We're stuck drinking it inside talking about this.
Drink enough, it warms up.
By the way, where's the bartender? Mine's empty. Oh, that's his cue. All right. While Mike goes to get me a refill, we're going to move on to the fourth leg of the Stronach Pick 5. We're going up to Golden Gate Fields, where it's actually, I think, Mike, a little bit warmer than it is down here. You got another big field here, field of 12. Favoritism is on the 8, but hold the gold at 3-1. Mike is pouring wine from a Pyrex, like a serving. What is that?
Curtis brought over. Yeah, I'm calling you Curtis because it's wine. Magic brought over warm white wine.
Thank you.
So I had to find something to put it in the freezer. This was the only thing that fit in the freezer.
Oh.
So we had a nice little Pyrex measuring.
That's true. Okay. All right. So, this is the Magic Mike Show. What would it be without drinking wine out of Pyrex cups?
That's creative. That's all I'm saying.
It's something, that's for sure. So they're going 5 furlongs on the synthetic. This is another maiden claiming. These are fillies, 3 years old, in for an $8,000 tag. Who's your must use in the fourth leg of the Stronach Pick 5?
So this race is one of them that I actually was more confident in than some of the others. So I'm going to take the 8 horse on top here, and I actually like this horse quite a bit. It's a speed and fade horse, and so that's the big concern. But look, 21-4 at the $8,000 maiden claimer level, no one's holding. That's a crazy time, especially first off a layoff. I love the fact that we're getting second off a layoff. Second is a 3-year-old. This horse is going to be in the lead. It's going to show speed. It's good. It just makes sense. I mean, that's the bottom line. This horse makes a lot of sense in this field. And so for me, this is the closest I got, actually second closest I got to singling within this leg. And I think the 8 horse it makes a ton of sense because it's going to get the lead. It's going to be more fit than it was last time out. You've got a good jockey trainer combination. Everything makes sense here with this horse. And I don't want to try and overthink it and try and beat a horse like this where when they turn for home, here's your leader, an $8,000 maiden claimer, and they're going to be stumbling. So I'm not sure that I want to try and get too creative here.
You make a good point on that one. So you hinted that you didn't single here. Can I take a guess? Did you go with the 2 at all?
No.
Filthy. You did not go with it. All right, we'll put a pin in that. We'll come back to why you don't like Filthy. Go ahead and first tell us who else did you use in this ticket.
I ended up using the 7, Shamboozle.
Shamboozle. So
this is the first-time starter by Champ Pegasus. This is, Fusiachi Pegasus horse, so not that well known, but there's a lot of things to like about this horse at the 10-1 morning line. And again, this is to me a weak race. When the field is this weak, new shooter. That's true. So I'm going to try and take a new shooter here for a barn that's 20% on a 30 starts. So 6 for 30. That's pretty darn good for first-time starters with $3.29 ROI. So they're not getting just chalk home.
Right.
William D'Elia is 19% as a trainer. You're getting a 25% jockey, but you're also getting a 22% jockey trainer combo over 130 starts. So we're not talking about a small sample size here. Right. Again, $2.33 ROI. If you bet these guys over 120 starts just to win for $2, you're profitable. That is rare in horse racing because usually if they're that good, you're getting short prices. Think
right. People pick up on the trend that this is going to, like a Navarro in Jaramillo, you pick up on the trend.
And so you look at that, and then you look at the other numbers. So debut and maiden claiming, there's 6 for 20 with a $4.49 ROI, right? So with debuters, they're good. In the maiden claimer level, they're a 206 ROI, 19% win percentage. This is what they do well. So you got to think that's good. And then let's look at the workouts. I love it when a horse at this level blows out a gate right before the race. So if you look at all the works, we're talking 49, 51, 102, 49, 49, 37, 50. What do those all have in common? None of them are 12s. Workout right before the race, blow it out 36 and out of the gate. The only time he ran a 12 was right before the race out of a gate. That horse is ready to go. 10-1 with all those numbers, I'll take a shot there.
So what you're saying is that was kind of Delilah's way of trying to really sharpen him and get her primed for a big explosion. That's what you mean by that,
especially with the out of the gate. I mean that
right.
They hustled that horse out, because if you're running sub 12s with a running start, and then you run 12s out of the gate, that means that they hustled that horse out and trained it, and it's ready to go. So I that's the reason I liked this horse enough not to single the 8 horse. And that's why I ended up 2 deep here, is because at 10-1 with these numbers, I don't see how you don't use this horse, just because this is a horse that would really suck if you got knocked off. It makes too much sense at 10-1.
Right. Yeah. We'll see if we can get any more close to 10-1 on her. All right. So let's go back to Filthy, the 2 horse. So I'm a big fan of Jeff Bondy. He's a trainer down he's mostly based in Santa Anita. Tends to have some really sneaky good horses at a price. Also tends to have Ruben Fuentes on those horses. So
there you go.
A little biased, but I do like Jeff Bondy a lot. Trainer of Sparkyville, who beat a couple of Bafferts not that long ago. He's 17% with an almost $3 ROI in the maiden claiming level just overall. He's 14% trainer just in general. You've got Anton Georgi in the saddle once again, who's one of the best jockeys, top 2 or 3 in that colony up there at Golden Gate Field. So what is it about Filthy that turned you away?
Its running lines are filthy. I think it's just that simple. I mean, the name describes how this horse runs. It literally had not passed a horse before last race. So that's not good. Passing is good. And one of my big things is, look, if you can't do it in the first 2 tries at a level like this, I'm not playing you at anything less than 15-1.
Okay.
And this horse has tried this level twice, the 8,000 claimer level twice. It was bet both times. It lost to 2 of the horses in this race that I'm not using last time out. It have lost 3 times with the jockey on it already, at 3-1, 290-1, and 3-1. So we've already burnt a good stack of money.
Very much so. Yeah.
I would much rather have you burn the money, and I'll come back when the first time starter at 10-1.
That's fair.
I know what this horse is. This is a known to me. Why do you think this horse will improve? Because it needs to improve to win. So what makes you feel like this horse will improve?
The one thing was her last race. The fact that instead of being forwardly placed, he tried rating and she did improve, but you're right. She still didn't get up there fast enough. It's the same 5 furlong distance. So I don't know.
I think that's more because of the first quarter than a tactics change.
Because they won 21-4.
Yeah, the race before she was 22-4, and she was a length off it. So she essentially ran the exact same first quarter from a time perspective, both those races.
Right.
One was just faster. So I don't think that they were like, hey, let's rate her this time. I think it was she's not fast enough to be with the leaders this time. So
that's fair. Did you just go 2 deep? Did you go anywhere else with this race?
I ended up just using 2.
Okay.
I did consider using a 3rd horse. The 3rd horse I almost used was the 6, twice as windy. Jeff Bondy, for you there. The running line's interesting here because this horse was 8 lengths back. It was in that same race that was the 21 first quarter, first time out. And it then fell to 13 lengths back and then closed at just 2.5 back. So it's a big time run toward the end of a race at 5 furlongs, which is not an easy distance to close first time out.
Oh, no.
So this horse showed some talent closing there. If it can improve off that first effort, it's got a shot. I just don't think you're going to see a 21-4 time here from any of these horses. Like I said, I think that your leader is going to end up being Behold the Gold, who ran that 21-4, but didn't need to. I mean, it had a 3-length lead. Why was it doing that? I think this horse is going to be better today. Behold the Gold, the 8, where I'm using. I think it's going to rate better, or it's going to be able to keep that speed better and end up getting home and run one of those 22-3 type first quarters, which is going to give it a really good chance to end up winning. And
you've got trainer Andy Mathis, who we didn't mention, is always one of the top trainers in the Golden Gate Fields circuit as well. Perfect. Let's move on to the final leg of the Stronach Pick 5 for Friday, February 22nd. We're going to my track, Santa Anita Park, for the greatest race that they have, which is down the hill, going 6.5 furlongs. You've got a field of 10 fillies and mares 4 and up. You also have 2 also eligibles here. Favoritism is on the 1, Spiring at 7-2. And again, this is a big, deep field here. I know you've kind of hinted at it before, but where are you going with this race? This is oof.
So this is interesting because it's probably the most lack of speed I've ever seen in a 6.5 furlong race down the hill.
Usually it's all speed in this race.
Exactly.
It's all speed.
I actually sat here and was like, who's going to get the lead?
Yeah.
And that is not normal. The horse I almost singled in this sequence, and I would advocate singling at the end if you want to play a smaller ticket, is the 7 Animosity. It's a huge class drop. That's really the reason why. It broke its maiden going down the hill, so you know it can do it. It's been running against significantly better horses since then. This horse has ran 4 back-to-back rated stakes. It's facing a lot less today. I think that just sets up well for this horse. They're trying to get this horse a win. It's the first race back of its 4-year-old season, so you're trying to build off it. 5-1, I think, is a steal. I don't think you're getting anywhere close to that. You're getting Rosario up, Patrick Gallagher, who's good with these turf sprints. I think that this fits well. The fact that there's no speed is why I can't single here, because this horse will be coming from off the pace.
Right.
It showed some speed going 1.16 and 1.8, but that's very different than 6.5 down the hill speed. So since there's not much speed here, I just can't justify singling the 7 if I'm playing all these other horses. So I ended up using a $180 ticket. If you singled the 7 year, my ticket would be $60.
Listen, so that is a great pick. There's 2 jockeys now at Santa Anita that if you play against them, you're taking a big risk. Joel Rosario is one of them. Pratt, we've talked about a lot, is the other.
Yep.
Rosario is just hot at Santa Anita. I mean, he's got 39%. Yeah, he's crushing it. And he when I was there, what was it, Monday? I think he crushed it he had a 10-1 shot, and I was like, how did a Rosario horse go off at 10? No Rosario horse at Santa Anita should go off at 10-1 unless you've got a complete clunker in a stakes race. Then I'd say maybe 12-1. But yeah, no, Animosity is a great pick. Before I ask a question, who is so there was one horse that was keeping you from singling. Is it the one Spiring?
I ended up using 2 others here.
Okay.
I did end up using the one Spiring. It just makes a ton of sense. I mean, if last race was off a 6-month layoff, it didn't have a kick. If it improves off that race, it's right there. So I thought that horse did make a ton of sense going down the hill. I like the fact that they're going back down the hill, even though this horse had been running longer prior to this. Ran in 2 grade 2 and grade 3 mile races at Santa Anita. So this horse has some talent, and the back class will be able to be competitive here. And you got to remember, it's a 40K non-winners of 1. The 2 horses that I'm talking about here, the 7 and the 1, are dropping big time. That's the lowest level that they've been at since the second race. For the 1, it's the lowest level since coming to, or tied for the lowest level since coming to America. And for the 7, it's the lowest race since the second race off the maiden. So they're dropping back in class. I'm interested to see what they can do here. The last 2 times that the 1 was at this level, it was going a mile and showed speed and quit both times. I'm willing to forgive that. I mean, that's the bottom line there. I'm interested in the 6.5 here. I do think the horse can take a step forward, second off the layoff. The horse that I decided was going to end up being your speed is the 2, Team Hollywood. And because I can't figure out who the speed is, and the one that I decided is going to be in the lead is 12-1 morning line, let's put it in there. Let's see what happens, right? Because this horse has been sprinting and showing speed. They were going to go 5 furlongs on the turf at Golden Gate. Yes, it's a step up in class. Yes, I don't love that this horse debuted in a maiden claimer. But look, the form on the synthetic was pretty good as a 3-year-old. We're now in the 4-year-old season. This is going to be the 3rd start of the 4-year-old season. So it's going to be in form. And we're getting turf for the first time. I think it's really interesting that Morley brought this horse from Golden Gate. Or the first race back in the season was supposed to be a sprint on turf.
Right.
They think this horse has more talent on turf than dirt. It ran a reasonable buyer. It needs to take a huge step forward. But you're going to have a lone leaguer lead with a bug jockey who's got a good shot at taking this horse wire to wire. And at 12-1, I think this is a reasonable shot to take here at the end. I wouldn't say you got to include this horse, but this is one of those where the race sets up really well for the horse. And if the horse can improve and the race is setting up well, 12-1, why not take a shot?
No, that's great. Also, her sire, Alternation, sired one of your favorite horses, Serengeti Empress. Speed.
Love that horse. Hey, solo lead?
Listen, it could happen. It's crazy because if a horse can get the lead at Santa Anita going down the hill like this, and kind of at least have an inner position, when they make that turn over the dirt crossing almost to a fault, you see the horses just out. And there's something about that transition that always spooks them or screws them up. So having a horse that's on the inside with speed is where you want to be in this position. It's so hard to close from the outside. We saw Victor Espinoza try to do it in the Santa Anita opener in his first race back. It's so damn hard to do that. Ruben Fuentes was right on the rail, and his horse drifted out about 3 lanes, and then he was clear.
It makes a difference being the first back on turf because you're the first to reaccelerate, and so it shaves down. It gives you an extra bubble of a lead, and it shaves down the time that the closers have to make it up. And that's why, like down the hill, I usually look for speed, and when there's no speed, you almost have to use that horse.
So the one horse that, or the one jockey that I said is always a risk to play against, that's Flavian Pratt. He's on the 10, special purpose, 4-1, all the way outside. Was it with Simon Callahan as well? So this is your Bellafina connections, right? So what is it about special purpose that made you say, I'm just going to play against?
The race setup and race setup and money. Like it's if there was more speed in here, this is a very logical horse. but it's going to get 22-1 was the last time, 45-1. It's not going to get to chase that pace. It's going to be a slower pace. And if you look at the race prior to that, 21-2, 43-4, it closed very well. 22-1, 45-1, it kind of flattened out. It only got within 2.5 lengths. This horse is going to need to take a big step forward, and it's going to be able to need to show more speed. If they added blinkers, I would love this horse. And this horse could beat me. This could be the one that knocks me out. But again, with a double denomination, it makes it a lot harder. And so if you're going to single somewhere, use a 10. If I put a fourth horse in here, we're talking about 240. Like all of a sudden, we're talking about these tickets where it's too much of a risk without 4 or 5 payout or without other. So it's where do you want to take your shot, right? And I would rather take a shot in a speedless race with a horse that I think can show speed, that is running first time on the turf, which means it has a right to improve. Right. Who's only 5 buyer points worse than the 10 last time. I mean, so to me, there's just simply a little more upside there than there is with the 10, especially considering the price. I don't think you can leave off the 7. I think the 1's really tough to leave off, and that means that I'm down to the 2 and the 10. Who am I choosing? I'm going to take the 10-1 over the 4-1. I literally wrote 10, scary. Yeah. But I just ran out of money, and that's part of the struggle with these multi-race exotics and why the $1 denomination makes such a big difference. If this was 50 cents, my ticket would be 90. I add this horse for 120, I'm in. Right. But it's $1. So it's 240, and that is a big jump. So that's why we didn't use them. Yeah, she's coming out of. I mean, her debut in America was in the Black Pearl Stakes last year. Missed coming down the hill, missed by half length, and then her other race in America again coming down the hill. Yeah. So it's going to be tough. What's interesting too is if we have any scratches, Mike, I think either one of the horses that are also eligibles here, Algorithmic or the Crick, they could be dangerous because they both have proven form over. I mean, look at that. 13 starts going this distance, 5 wins for Algorithmic. And that's just, I mean, she's in for a 40 tag, which is, I think, one of the reasons why she didn't make it. But oof. Well, and they're your speed. Yeah. So also that, look at those numbers. If any horse scratches out, I'm using the 11 instead of the 2. Okay. Because this becomes your speed, and this is true speed, who, when you go back to the down the hill races, was consistently first or second at the first and second call and winning or being very close to winning at faster first. Like she's running 21-1. Like that, yeah. That's your speed. Like, so all of a sudden, a speedless race has a better speed horse who has talent. I mean, you could make an argument to single the 11 if the 11 draws in, because the 2 can't run with the 11. So all of a sudden, the 11's on the lone lead, not the 2. And there's like, you give me a lone lead down the hill. If you can run a 22-second first quarter down the hill, like you got a shot to hold on. Like you have a lot of speed left. So yeah, to me, the 11 would end up being a single or a must use, and the 2 is out. If we end up getting in there. And you've got Tyler Bays in board, who's I always say is an underrated jockey when it comes to the turf at Santa Anita. He's a need the lead guy too. He likes sending, and so he does. He's one of those guys where if he's on, like we talk about Rosario on a closer, Talamo on a front runner is a good combination. All right, Mike, that's going to wrap things up for the Stronach Pick 5 for Friday, February 22nd. Real quick, let's just go through your ticket step by step. Who you got? I'm going to go with the 8-3 with 5-6-8. With 1, 2, 4, 8, 11, with 7, 8, with 1, 2, 7. What's the ticket cost for a $1 denomination? $180, and I'm going to replace the 11 with the 2 with the 11 in the last leg if the 11 draws in. If the 11 draws in, yeah, that's. Oh, man, that you're right. We were talking off air beforehand. This last leg at Santa Anita is tough, and usually I can nail it down to a few horses coming down the hill, but this one. You can make an argument for lies. I mean, there's a horse in there that's making a first-time start for Phil D'Amato coming from the Chad Brown barn that we didn't even talk about. The whole sequence is tough. Like I started the show saying there's really 207,000 possible combinations. We're talking 10 by 12 by 12 by 12 by 12. I mean, this is a hard sequence without a single morning line horse under 2-1. And no one's going to go off shorter than 7-5. I mean, this is going to be a tough sequence to hit. It's going to be one you're going to have to spend some money. If you take a stand somewhere, you can go deep everywhere else. That might be a better shot than trying to just go with the 2 or 3 style. But I liked a price in every single leg, which meant I'm not going to single. If I like a 10-1 horse, I'm not singling it. I'm using it, which means I'm not singling that race. And that's kind of what I ran into in almost every single leg. Perfect. Well, this weekend is pretty light. It's going to be interesting to see what they talk about on Blinkers Off tomorrow. Yep. They record tomorrow on Thursday. I'm sure they'll go live, so check the Racing Dudes Twitter feed for that one. It's fun watching that. Hopefully Aaron figured out how to use his camera. It's scary that I give Aaron shit for not being the most tech savvy. Aaron taught us how to do this, how to properly record the podcast. So every time we start to make fun of Aaron, Jared likes to remind me, that's who taught you how to do something on a computer. And yes, yeah, Aaron did a good job. And theoretically, he only taught you.
That's true.
I was not recording back then.
That's true.
We were like super janky and only had one microphone. And I was like,
I didn't know what we were doing.
Anyway, we're much better now. We got an HD camera. We got a nice microphone here.
Yeah, we're on YouTube Live.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much professionals now. Yeah. So
all we need are sponsors.
There you go.
Perfect. So we've got I know the Buena Vista Stakes is at Santa Anita. I think there's one other graded stakes race, and that's it. This is a pretty light weekend.
Yeah, they're going to have to do a lot of, have 4 fabulous fillies of the week. They're going to have to do a 3-year-old update. There's got to be, they'll figure it out. They do a good job of filming.
I asked them to bring back What the Bleep. Did you ever listen when they had What the Bleep?
The different trainers, and you have to fill in. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
I mean, you can just do it all with Shug McGahee. What the Bleep with just starring Shug McGahee.
Him and the coach, man. Those two are like the stars.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah, so Aaron got excited, and hopefully we'll have something cooked up for that. So Blinkers Off comes out on Friday. We'll have this podcast up shortly if you're watching on YouTube Live. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We're going to stay on after the recording ends here just to chat for a little bit. If you have any questions, you want to talk St. Louis Blues hockey, you want to talk Patrick Mahomes, whatever you guys want to talk about. No Patrick Mahomes talk. No. Whatever else you guys want to talk about, we're here for it. All right, everybody, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
That was good. Thanks, everybody, for playing along, asking the questions. Those were good. I'm going to try and look a little closer so it was going to look weird when I did it before. Persis Gavin 4. I am so sorry. Maybe my eyes were wrong. I am having such a hard time with your username. I'm sorry. RIP to the Dudes Derby forecast. Well, ever since we started doing the fantasy league, they can't really give out a horse because they're afraid they might tip us off. Now, Mike and I, our team is we're at this point we're praying either Walking Thunder somehow becomes the first UAE Derby winner to ever win the Kentucky Derby. Hell, even that might not save us. I don't know at this rate.
I don't think we can win.
Just don't lose.
Well, if we just stand pat, we won't lose. I mean, that's the other, and that's the one unique thing about this. It's okay. At what point do you just say, let's not finish last? Right? Yeah. I mean, because we almost were there last weekend, and then we picked up Lemon Height. It was my idea. I really thought he ran better than our other horse. He did run better than our other horse. And we talked about 2 others, and one of them was picked up this week, Tax, because we were considering Tax too. Yeah. I don't like him, but he's going to get points. He will get points, and that's I hate that. It's the question of how you want to balance that too. The other thing with the Derby forecast is Jerry posted this yesterday. We're now 2 days after Justified debuted last year. It's going to be tough to get a horse into the Derby if they haven't raced yet. Yeah. So the Derby forecast is now more watching big time allowances, and they're races that everyone's talking about anyway, right? Yeah. And so those horses are ones that you're going to hear about irregardless of the Derby forecast or not, because they're going to be 3-year-olds that are going to be in a stake race next time out or currently in one. Yeah. I know. Austin, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to exclude you. I was thinking that I guess I don't know Austin's involvement with Racing Dudes. He's a sports picks, even though we both picked the Super Bowl better than him. I didn't even pick the Super Bowl, and I somehow picked it better than Austin. So, just kidding, Mike. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Austin does the sports picks. Okay. I think so. Yeah. Okay. And he goes to Turfway Park, and we feel bad for him. That's right. He did the Turfway Park. So he goes. Well, we were excited because I brought my Magic Mike Show T-shirt to show off. Our idea was we're gonna hang it in the background and have a better background than this. There's literally nowhere to hang this from in the wall. Zero chance. Without damaging the ceiling, and then Mike doesn't get his deposit back for the Airbnb, and then it's a whole thing. So, speaking of, do you think my motorcycle's gonna be down there? Well, like 4-1 says no. I mean, he ran into the building manager of the building I don't live in. Well, the guy that he says he's building manager. Yeah. I should have asked him for his ID. If I was him, I would be like, look, we have valet for motorcycles down here, so I'm gonna need the keys, and I'll just leave it in the spot. And then it would definitely not be there when you get back down there. No, it definitely wouldn't. Yeah. But you guys are quiet. What's going on? I think everybody's just staring at our beautiful faces in this high definition camera. What's going on? I am, man. Yeah, we are. We're just looking at ourselves. Let's see. Vasilika comes back in the Buena Vista. That Buena Vista field at Santa Anita is going to be nice. Vasilika is supposed to be back. Famura is going to be in it. So we know there'll be pace. Giddy up and go. Off she goes. Sauce on Side is set to return Sunday. If she draws in, it's a non-winners of 3 going down the hill. So this is more of a prep because there's nothing else to put her in. That's exactly what this is. This is Peter Miller wanted to get her into a book, into a race last weekend. Yeah, and it didn't fill. Try and get a paid workout. Like, see if you get fourth or something, you get something back, and it's not.
She's never been on the turf. I have to do some digging into her female pedigree, but by Violence, so I don't even know. That's why I texted you. Do you know what Violence's first-time turfer stats are? Because
I sent you back
100%.
Oh, it's Violence, man.
I thought she was true with me. Yeah.
Violence actually does have decent turf horses.
Yeah,
I mean, like I've seen a couple in stakes races where the horse, like even Louder Than Bombs that ran second, been down Gulfstream. That's a Violence horse. So there is some proven pedigree. Magadoro has produced some pretty good Violence or pretty good turf horses too. So you got to think that there's a chance that the horse will take to the turf. And like I said, it's one of those races when they haven't been around for long enough. One of the things you realize as an owner is sometimes they just spot horses to finish fourth. Because it's like, look, we could work it out for the next 4 weeks, or we could get it going down the hill and try and maybe win the race, right?
Yeah.
But if not, then it takes the place of a workout,
right? And
you're going to get $3,000 back, which will pay the bills for the month or whatever it is.
So her last race back in December, they moved her up. She was running starter allowances. They moved her up to a full allowance. Just didn't look good that day. Turns out, even though she's on LASIK, she did bleed a little bit. So it happens. So Peter Miller's a trainer, and I saw it. We'll get to 1 second, KB. I'll finish my story. He put her in like a hyperbaric chamber to like heal her, and then gave her a couple weeks off, and then she's been working great at San Luis Rey, and so literally has just been trying to find a spot. And Aaron told me about this too with Attikid, one of the horses he owned last year. They put him in a race at one point because they needed him to do something other than just work out. Like he kind of hit his ceiling for what he was going to be able. Thank you for what he's going to be able to do. I love the Pyrex glass. Boy, we polished this bottle off. That's pretty good. This isn't as bad. This Moscato isn't as bad as I thought it might be.
That's it's free wine. I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. Right? That's what I said. Yeah. All right, KBS. What are your thoughts on Instagram? Where will he show up? He is going to come in the San Felipe.
Yeah.
It's like 90%. This is courtesy of Jay Priven, DRF, broke the news. But first of all, Game Winner and Improbable are both going for the Bob Baffert barn. Like, we thought that he was going to pick one to go with one and then, send the other to somewhere else. I mean, I know that they've got the Mind That Bird Derby is this weekend at Sunland Park on Sunday, which is the prep for the Sunland Derby. So if you needed a horse just to like get out there and do something, I could have seen him sending there, but no, he's going to send them both to the San Felipe, and Instagram's supposed to be there as well.
Well, I will bet that they're not both in the Santa Anita Derby. I bet the winner stays and the loser gets out of town.
There you go.
That's probably why you make that decision.
Yeah. I think Bob said he didn't want to ship.
Well, it's
for their first start.
And the other part of that is you have two separate ownership groups that both could very well want to win the Santa Anita Derby. I mean, there's some of the ownership could be like, no, I want to stay. I think we might have the better horse. And if they run and one wins, the other loses, then you go back to that ownership group and you want to be in the Derby gate. Okay, let's go run the Louisiana Derby. Let's go, let's go somewhere else. So I think you could definitely see that. I love Instagram, so I'm excited to see Instagram back because I do think that's a very good shot at being a Derby winner. I still will say that was my 1 or 2 pick in the league if we ended up getting to pick there. And it is what it is about the ownership group. Like, you never know. Another question just came in about Into Mischief going long. I actually agree with that. We actually had another conversation, which we should probably at least talk about or mention here. City Zip, which is relevant because City Zip is Improbable sire. Not like we talked. What's the best 2-turn City Zip horse that you can think of? We couldn't think of a single one.
Yeah.
And the reason it came up is there was a $625,000 Pletcher City Zip that started that day at Gulfstream. Didn't run well, but that's probably more Pletcher than City Zip. I'm not going to blow City Zip up because of it. And Into Mischief's another one where you had a lot of good horses and a lot of good milers and a lot of good sprinters, but you haven't had that 2-turn winner yet. And there was a couple last year, Maximus Mischief again this year, where when it's starting to stretch out early in its 3-year-old season, it just hasn't been able to compete. So I think Into Mischief is one you got to keep an eye on, and you got to assume is a threat. But I definitely am still a little skeptical there. And City Zip, one of the reasons I don't love Improbable is City Zip, and I think that's one of those where it's been a while since City Zip has started siring horses, and he's been successful consistently. Yeah, so to not have a 2-turn horse that like pops to mind of, and I'm not as good of I'm a better, right?
Yeah,
Aaron and Jared and Slim are historians. For them not to be able to say this City Zip horse is really good, that means that there probably isn't one unless we're all forgetting one. But that is concerning to me.
Well, and you've got. I was just looking at Into Mischief's prodigy, and other than Audible, it is. I mean, You've got Mia Mischief, Golden Mischief were both talented sprinters last year. Engage was a sprinter, right? And which is crazy because this is the same dam who gave Beholder, gave us Mendelssohn, but he's by Harlan's Holiday, who's not a big household name when it comes to sire. City Zip, by the way, you mentioned, that's one of those like blue collar stallions that I like. Like if you find some, I forget who it was. Tom Amos was on the Steve Bick radio show. If you don't listen to it, it's first of all, I recommend it. It's a great daily show. Until we get ours up and running for Racing Dudes, that's a good source. He was talking about Tom Amos talking about how he loves looking for horses with Carson City in the pedigree, and that's same family there with City. So you can get something like that. I mean, it's City Zip isn't a household name, but it's blue collar. But is that blue collar going to win the Kentucky Derby? In this day and age,
it's tough. It's tough, but it's interesting to see these horses go for so much. And Into Mischief, I think, is interesting because. I don't want to say it's fool's gold, but it's a little bit of that because, well, think about it. You have horses that win big races that are by Into Mischief, but a lot of them are 6 to a mile, right? 7 furlong, right?
Right.
And then you have horses that win early preps, win the 7 furlong prep in the late 2-year-old season. I mean, you have them winning the mile prep early, the 1-turn mile belt, and then it gets harder and harder for them as you go. So that to me is one of those where he still needs to have that big horse. But Into Mischief also has not been a sire for that long. I mean, we kind of have to cut him a little bit of a break there because of the timing of it.
Yeah, that's true. He's, I mean, I don't know. Mike Hunter, I mean, he's had enough crops. Yeah, he could get it. You're right. Collected is by City Zip. I always forget that. Collected, I think Collected's he's unsung. For what that horse was able to accomplish, Grade 1 winner. Didn't embarrass himself. See, now you got Mike looking it up. He doesn't. Now you're gonna see our first fight that's being recorded. But you're right. Yeah, collected works. I mean, he beat Arrogate.
Yeah, but that was
post Dubai Arrogate.
Well, post Dubai Arrogate is not impressive. You beat pre Dubai Arrogate. I'm impressed. Now, Collected's a legit horse, I guess. And he did go 2 turns there. Yeah, I mean. It's interesting.
He got hurt in the Preakness, didn't he? Isn't that why he missed so much time there? Or something about the Preakness, it screwed him up?
Yeah, that would be logical. Yeah, I guess you could say Collected is a good 2-turn horse from City Zip. Clearly better as a 4-year-old than a 3-year-old.
Yep, got better with age, you're right.
But, yeah, I mean, you could make a case to Collected. But, okay, but if Collected is the best City Zip, and City Zip
has been around for a long time.
I mean, I remember I was at the Hopeful that City Zip won. It was a rainy day. They ended up pushing the race forward. We actually did heated for it. That was a long time. I was like 12, right? Like that was a minute ago. Maybe not 12. I mean, that's still I was probably like 16, something like that. So we're talking like 20 years ago.
You're trying to make yourself sound younger.
Yeah, I'm cutting 4 years off my life here. So City Zip has had 10 plus crops, and Collected is the one we're pointing to. That's, it's good, but
if you were gonna bet on how about this for a question? If you're gonna bet on one trainer to win the Kentucky Derby who's not named Bob Baffert. At this point, who do you think it is?
I would want Baffert in the pool so I can bet Hollendorfer at a bigger number.
You would see, and that's where I was going. I was going to ask you about Hollendorfer because you got Instagram.
Yep.
You got Gunmetal Gray, who's going to muck up for the points. Yeah. Aaron has horses like this every year. Trust me, he's going to do it.
But you have to win the race. So if you're betting to win the race, you play to win the game.
You got Galilean.
Yeah, all you need is Instagram. Instagram's going to win the Derby. Like, call 40-1. My book.ag. I still like Instagram. The funny thing is, do you remember how good that horse was? We talked about this on even on the preview, how people are very short memory when you're talking about this. That horse is a beast. And it didn't get stopped because it got hurt. It didn't stop because it needed to have time off. It stopped because the owner decided he didn't want to run it. Like
the owner wanted him to run as a 4-year-old. So he went on and run in tears.
Yeah, whatever.
It's your money, Larry Best. You do what you want, brother.
Yeah, well, he's better. He's got more money than I do. We'll put it that way. That horse was the best horse last year, and ended up not running all that much. And so for me, Instagram is the one that I want.
It's just crazy. He's never gone 2 turns. He hasn't raced since August. He didn't go 2 turns in his pair of races, but I remember being at Del Mar when he won was it the Best Pal? What was that race that he won? Whatever that stakes race. Best Pal?
Yeah.
I was there. Aaron was in town. My buddy Kevin was there, and I was so excited to show my buddy who's just trying to get into horse racing. I was like Instagram. I was like, I went on paddock. I was like, that horse is going to win the Kentucky Derby. And then we went out there, and when he started moving off the turn, Aaron and I just, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Just repeating wow, wow, wow. And then we got done and we just sat there and looked at each other like, holy shit, that was impressive.
He moves differently. Like, it's just last year Justify moved differently. I'm not saying he's Justify. He's probably like he's not as good as Justify. Like, I don't want to put that on him, but he moves differently than other horses that he was more effortless. It reminded me of, and this is a bad example because Catalina Cruiser sucked, but it reminded me of Catalina Cruiser's stride.
He and Justify moved similarly.
The ease of it, where they just kind of glide over the track.
It's so big, like they would cover so much space in such a quick amount of time and not look like they were trying.
And yeah, he hasn't gone 2 turns. Yes, there are a ton of he hasn't raced since. There's a bunch of question marks, but I could literally bash any horse you want.
Well, yeah, who in this field doesn't have a million question marks?
And that's the thing to me. It's like if I'm gonna, I still believe like you want the most talented horse. The most talented 2-year-old I saw was Instagram. I haven't seen him as a 3-year-old. Until I see him as a 3-year-old, I'm still going to consider him the most talented horse in the class because I haven't seen anyone that has blown me away as much, except for Hidden Scroll, who did it in a 1-turn mile over the slop. So there's caveats, right? But I mean, and that's why those are the 2 that I bet in the Derby so far, because those are 2 horses that I have seen have the most talent so far in this crowd.
Someone asked us about Omaha Beach. That's it. You know, I will say Omaha Beach gained more in my mind when I saw what War of Will was able to do in the Risen Star, because as I said on Monday, I was waiting for War of Will to prove that a War Front horse could handle a fast, dry dirt course. Omaha Beach broke his maiden on a wet dirt course.
Yep.
So now I don't think he's as good as War of Will, but he's interesting. He just had it. We were talking about this 2 days ago. 47 seconds flat, 4 furlongs. I mean that was his first work back since breaking his maiden.
Yeah, he can scoot.
He's got talent, but how much talent does he have?
It's the upside. What's the upside? Because he took him a while to break his maiden.
Yep.
He consistently was running second. They tried the turf first. I hate it when you try the turf first and then put the horse on the Derby trail. That to me is an immediate red flag. If you thought the horse was that good, you're running him on dirt.
I mean, he's a War Front. What would you have done?
Do I think the horses can be in the Derby? I'm running him on the dirt. Until I think that, to me, it's like, why? Why are you trying? Like, so
the owners tend to get Derby madness.
Yeah, which is all the more reason why if they don't start him on the dirt, they don't believe when he started running.
Henley's Joy in the Risen Star. That was exactly because I'm guessing that's why Jeff Bloom wanted it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame him for doing it, but for me, it's like Henley's Joy started on the turf. Guess what? Henley's
won a $400,000 stakes race on the turf.
Henley's Joy's the turf horse. They took a shot in a spot that it just didn't work out. But like to me, the fact that like Nolo Contesto beat Omaha Beach, and that was Nolo Contesto's second race out or maiden. It was a maiden score. I don't remember if it was either first start or second start. And Omaha Beach, I'm going to probably get this wrong. I think it was either run 5 or 6 times at that point. The upside is limited every time a horse runs, especially in this small of a window. You need big jumps and improvements. And when you have a horse that's run 6 times, the likelihood of a large jump between 6 and 7 is significantly less than the likelihood of a large jump between 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. And so with that number of starts, to be able to make the improvement that would be required to be a Derby contender, I think is going to be really tough.
What do you think they do with him? They send him to, it's got to be an allowance race for him next, right? For Omaha Beach? Or do you throw him into do you throw him into San Felipe?
Look, I was going to bet Nolo Contesto, and that's a nose difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the class that he's faced in the maidens is good. I mean, we talked earlier on the podcast about the class that I'm a captain now have been facing with Chiroz. It took 8 tries to break the maiden, but it was getting beat by Yoshida and Chiroz. Good horses, right? Yeah. Omaha Beach is the same thing. It's not getting beat by nothing. So you can't really, like, sometimes running second in 4 straight maidens is different than running second in 4 straight maidens. It's all about who beat you and what they did afterward and whether or not you consistently improved. And Omaha Beach was taking small steps forward. It's just it needs a jump. And I'm not sure when that or where that jump's going to happen. Because it's done 2 turns. It's done, like everything that could create the jump, it's already tried. Right. Maybe blinkers. Maybe you try something like that to see if it makes a difference. But it would need a reason to improve, and I'm not sure you can manufacture one at this point.
That's a good point. What else you guys got? Those good questions. Some really good questions there. I like somebody's making fun of you for not playing Flavian.
What can you do? Yeah. If my dad and I say it'd be really easy if you could bet them all. Really easy to pick the winner.
Yeah, no, that's true. I got a text from Jared. He tuned in earlier. He goes, FYI, I will be attending the following: the Rebel, Florida Derby, Santa Anita Derby, Arkansas Derby, Preakness, maybe, Belmont, Jim Dandy, Del Mar in the summer.
Forward that to Kelsey.
I am so sending this to Kelsey.
Hey, Kelsey, could you confirm? I heard a rumor. I want to, before I break the news on Twitter, I'd like to confirm this.
Yeah, man. It's nice that your excuse is you have to go to work.
Yeah, well, the LA thing is it's his excuse too.
She knows what he does when he goes out to work.
That's a him problem.
I'll just say this: there's no working when you're out there with Aaron.
North Carolina won by 16.
They're up by 10. So they didn't really pour it on there without. But I guess they probably didn't need to without Zion.
I'm sure that they.
Michigan State. Oh, they should have beat Rutgers. That's good.
Huh.
Oh.
All right.
Nobody else got questions? All right.
We will be back maybe sometime in March for a recap. I think is the next time we'll be out here.
Okay, cool.
But I'm going to Vegas for a bachelor party, and then I'll be back here Monday, Tuesday. So maybe do the recap live. And then
recap of Vegas or the races? Well, yes. Yeah. That's the answer.
Depends which one we're recording.
That's true. Do you want to? We don't about it now. I don't think there's anything really worth recapping this weekend.
No, right? We'll see what happens.
We can see. I guess that's true. Yeah.
Don't expect an hour podcast on Monday. I think that's the best way to put it.
An hour podcast describing Von Mira defeating Vasilika.
I will be missing this week. The Magic Show featuring Von Mira and Vasilika.
Well, one time I had to do it by myself.
There's gonna be like I said,
when you're in Florida,
a cut of 50. There's gonna be just 50 cuts of Vasilika and Von Mira. Just Von Mira, Vasilika, Von Mira.
I wish it was Michael Rona. I miss Michael Rona. Now I met Frank Mirmati, really nice guy, very genuinely nice guy, and I get what he brought to Santa Anita, like why they want to go a different direction. But man,
it's still maddening to me when I turn on TVG and I hear Frank Mirmati's voice, and I change the channel. So I'm like, oh, it's Monmouth. Oh shit, it's not. It's I gotta flip it back over.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how voices connect with tracks.
Yeah. And
so then when you hear that voice with a different track, you're like, what's going on here? So it's weird for me. Like it's Saratoga, like forever. That Coleman's like that's all you know, right? And
yeah.
They're the one voice. And now it's weird to hear Frank Mirmati at a new spot.
Well, and I got into horse racing right when Michael Rona got the full-time job because it came down to him and Mirmati, and they pitted the two of them against each other, which I can't even imagine. I wish I'd been in the press box back then just to hear all the crazy backstabbing shit that probably went on, but like with other people, not with them. With Rona's been my announcer. Like I associate Santa Anita with that is my announcer, and it's not fair to anybody else. Like that's just who I grew up with.
Durkin, love me some Durkin.
Durkin, you know what? Durkin was before my time, but I watched his. First of all, amazing calls. What's the one? Arg. Was that him or was that Stauffer? Arg. The horse named Arg.
I don't remember that one.
He just goes Arg like over and over and over. It's great on YouTube. Check it out.
Durkin's call with Cigar is like one of the best calls ever.
Yes, that was a good one.
The incomparable, unbeatable. It's so much. I love going back and watching old races. So every now and then I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch the Cigar races. I'll watch.
Yeah.
What's her face? Zenyatta's races.
Yeah.
There's some really cool YouTube older race clips that's fun to watch. Fleet Alex's Preakness is a fun one to watch. Where he almost goes down to a knee.
Yes. Yeah.
There's some cool races. There's a fun Mind the Bird one when he won the Derby at 50-1. There's a
because he's got the lead halfway down the stretch before they goes, wait, who is this damn horse?
Yeah.
You can hear him scrambling. He's like, what horse is this in my form? Durkin's last call ever is on YouTube, and the first time I ever watched that, I was tearing up, and I don't even know the guy. I don't have any emotional connection, but seeing how much that meant, and just seeing they had a little camera right there in his booth and everything. If you haven't watched it, it's incredible. Check that out.
Some of the Travers throughout the days have been incredible. Like the Holy Bull's concern Travers, and he's yelling, "There's cause for concern" as he flies around the it's just he was very, very good in the moment.
Yes,
and so it was. I love me some Durkin. I love that there's now a horse named Durkin's Call too that's running. It's funny to me that they have these horses that they're now naming after.
I know there's Denman's Call out here in Southern California for Trevor Denman.
Yep. There's Durkin's Call too out in New York.
That's cool. Aaron, we'll have to save this for another one, but we've discovered at the Breeders' Cup last fall. So for the three of you, because Mike's cheating and got it open, the three of you who are still watching and paying attention, all of us when we went to the Breeders' Cup that were there, we just rented an Airbnb house. And so we sat one night in the living room drinking beer I think Jared was editing the podcast. The rest of us were in there drinking beer, and Aaron's got the remote, and he just says, "What's your favorite race of all time?" He looks at me. He goes, "What's your favorite race of all time?" So I tell him. So he pulls it up, and we watch it. And he looks at Paul. "Paul, what's your favorite race?" Boom, puts it on. And then we just went on. You wouldn't believe how many times someone was like, "Oh, put on this race," and it was a Preakness.
Oh yeah, there's some great Preakness.
I would argue from that night, like, and we spent a few hours doing this. The Preakness from top to bottom has the best races themselves of any of the Triple Crown races. Better than the Belmont for sure. Better than the Kentucky Derby. You have some memorable Kentucky Derbies, but the amount of like dramatic finishes and races that you saw, I mean,
I could
Fleet
see that.
Alex.
Yeah, and you also, it's a unique thing because you have the favorite who's always the Derby winner.
You're right.
Facing the best horses who didn't run the Derby at a distance where they can be competitive. So you have the new shooter theory, right?
Right.
A bunch of these horses coming in that now have a shot at winning, and that creates these good finishes because they're a little bit more, they're just a little bit more rested to be able to come in there. I like bang for my buck, the Breeders' Cup Classic. If you watch the Breeders' Cup Classics, those are the best races that I've seen. With Cigar's Breeders' Cup Classic, with Zenyatta and Blaine, with Zenyatta winning hers, with Chrome and Arrogate. Like, it seems like year after year.
Farrow doing the Grand Slam for the first time.
Like, you just have stories that consistently happen there. I mean, and those races are usually very, very good.
1989 Preakness. That was a year after I was born. So I'm gonna have to look up who that was.
That was come on, Sunday Silence Easy Goer, 1989.
Oh,
that was a very good. That whole sequence is great. That's one of the most underrated years. Watch the
Derby.
Derby.
Yes, we did watch those. I remember
Derby,
that now,
Preakness, Belmont, Travers, Classic.
They were just constantly
just banging heads. Two great horses in the same year. It's fun when there's two great horses in the same year.
I've heard so Ryan Stillman, who does a lot of this stuff for the dudes, like in the background, a lot of audio and everything. He is a major historian, and I swear that Ryan once said that was the closest it's ever been to affirmed Alidar as far as like a rivalry. Since then, that's like the closest we've had.
Two superstars.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing. Like, these are great horses, and you don't usually have two horses that are mature enough to be that great at that time. Because like you go to the Breeders' Cup Classic, that was like the older males. Nah, it was those two like that, and that's you don't see that all the time. It's usually this and it's the Arrogate Chrome one was a good one because you have the young horse, the older horse, but usually you don't have 2 3-year-olds that are just head and shoulders above every other horse in the world, and that was a really unique thing.
It's a good one, yeah, man. Arrogate Chrome.
That was a great race.
So great.
Great race.
Looking back on it now, just seeing Mike Smith is completely schooling Victor Espinoza. Because the entire time Victor was looking under his left shoulder. Where are you? Where are you? Yeah. He thinks he's got it clear. He relaxes, and then boom, right past him on the outside. Durkin's calling Victor Gallops Belmont.
It was a good one too.
Yep.
Hey, Durkin was great, man. He was a great one. But yeah, everyone should I try.
It's so easy to fall down that rabbit hole. It's such a great rabbit hole.
Every now and then on Twitter, I post up like one of my favorite old races.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to see how people respond. Like, that to me is a good Throwback Thursday thing. Put up your favorite race every Thursday on Twitter. Like, just and consistently roll through it, because people need to watch those old races more, because it's like the history of it is amazing, and how this whole thing started and how it got going. And like, for me, I just, because that's when I grew up, I also just gravitate toward a lot of those late 80s, early 90s races, because that was when I was falling in love with it.
I like it. We should start, we should do that. We should do like a thing, like each week have like the racing dudes, like Twitter, send out like a Throwback Thursday.
We could do race of the week on our pick show. And the open is we talk about what our favorite race from olden days, and then throw it up on Twitter. And
I know Slim's gonna have a million from New York too. That
well, we should make it.
You will know. I won't know. But
technically, Slim can't choose a New York race. We're gonna get him outside the box. He's got to be non-New York races. And then he's gonna only pick New York winners in the.
I was just gonna say. I immediately was like, what races did Frosted win that weren't in New York? And then I couldn't think of any, because I don't think he won outside of New York. Oh, it's a good thing he's not watching. He'd kill me right now. Cool. All right. So, you know what's interesting, by the way? We were down to 2 watchers. We got back up to 4 talking about our favorite calls.
Everyone wants to know.
The demand is out there.
Wants to know. We doubled the audience.
We did. Thank you guys for staying along, and this has been fun. Yeah, we'll keep this going, and I don't know what else to say.
Yeah,
we stopped recording, so my ability to end fluently is gone.
I'm Magic.
God, that's weird. I'm Curtis. I hate saying
and I'm Michael.
Oh, God. Cool.
And this is the Curtis Michael Show. All right, guys. Have a
About
good
the
one.
most unsexy thing ever.
Because the Magic Mike show just.
Oh, yeah, cool. All right. See you guys later.
Later, guys.
Yeah.